Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a Kentucky Wildlife Center is defending themselves months after 9 animals were seized for lack of a permit. And a painting tells 1,000 stories, including how one painter was reunited with his canvases more than 30 years after their theft.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Madison Carmouche. We're coming up on 5:28 this Monday morning, and you know it's a Monday when, once again, I forgot my watch. But let's send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast.
Oh, Madison, you can't be doing that now. Come on, especially on the Monday, right? 55 and a slow start outside the door weather-wise with a little fog from Hazard to the south and southwest. So keep that in mind as the rest of us are dealing with, at least at the reporting stations, optimum visibility, aka 10 miles. In the meantime, again, we're at 55 here. Up the road at Jackson, it is 62. Down the road at Harlan, you're at 61. London at 60, and Pikeville at 61. Just some waves of clouds moving across the Commonwealth as we made our way through the overnight period. And there is additional cloud cover that'll be dropping in from the north and west later today, more so as we head through tonight. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about a Monday. But it's a beautiful Monday. 3 days in a row with gorgeous weather after the areas of fog burn off. A lot of sunshine and the high in Hazard up to 81. Can we make it 4 in a row? We'll let you know. Your ARH First Alert 7-day forecast is coming up in a few moments. Madison?
All right, Tim, thank you. Police are investigating the death of a Jackson County woman who they say died after being carjacked and run over by her own vehicle. The Jackson County Sheriff says it happened Saturday outside of the T-Mart. Officials say a suspect identified as Michael Edwards carjacked a truck parked at the gas station. Then the sheriff says the victim ran outside, grabbed the handle of the truck, and was dragged about 40 feet before Edwards ran her over. The Laurel County coroner says Tracy Clemens died from blunt force trauma to the head at St. Joseph London Hospital. Officers arrested Edwards in a field on Cornet Chapel Road on Saturday. He faces several charges, including murder, carjacking, and more. He is being held on a $1 million bond at the Jackson County Detention Center. The Perry County Sheriff's Office is looking for a missing woman. They say the woman you see on your screen is 28-year-old Veronica Sweet, and she was last seen on 126 Boone Ledge Drive in Hazard Friday around 10:30 in the evening. Officers say Sweet is missing from an assisted living facility and is diagnosed with multiple mental health disorders. Sweet is said to have 2 visible tattoos and described as 5 feet 4 inches with brown hair and blue eyes. If you know anything about where Sweet might be, you are asked to call 911. 2 people face charges after a traffic stop in Laurel County. The Laurel County Sheriff's Office says they arrested Ronald Wright and Robert Lee Wright Thursday on South Laurel Road. The Sheriff's Office says investigation determined they were both under the influence and were in possession of suspected meth. They were both also wanted on active warrants. Ronald Wright faces several charges, including DUI and possession of a controlled substance. Robert Wright is charged with possession of a controlled substance, possession of an open beverage in a vehicle, and more. Back in June, a complaint was made against the Kentucky Wildlife Center in Lexington, leading to the seizure of 9 animals and charges against the president of the center. Jessica Umbro sat down with Karen Bailey, who says it's important for her to share her side of the story.
It kind of looks bad when you've spent your whole life dedicated to the well-being and welfare of wildlife, to come out and say that I have illegal possession.
Karen Bailey says she found out a few weeks ago that she was missing a permit for some of the animals kept at the Kentucky Wildlife Center. Bailey believes regulatory changes in the last year are part of the problem. On Thursday, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Resources seized 9 animals they say were being held illegally. Officials charged Bailey with 9 violations of holding protected wildlife without a permit.
They showed up with a bunch of people. It was like a raid for a $25 permit for somebody that had it for 18 years. It's not like I was a criminal. I've never even had a speeding ticket.
In a statement to WKYT, the Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources said, quote, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife's investigation stems from a complaint received in June that expressed concern about the welfare of animals in the possession of Karen Bailey. And it continued, quote, with the animals now in the care of Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, a determination will be made later regarding the eventual disposition of the animals based on available facility and medical records of the animals. Bailey says she takes issue with the fact that the 3 otters and 6 raccoons were taken from familiar surroundings.
We offered to give them full access to the facility, to let the animals stay till we figure it out. I'm struggling. I feel like I betrayed them. I shoved them, in a carrier to be put in the back of a truck.
In Lexington, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
An interview with Kentucky Fish and Wildlife was requested, but they said since this is an ongoing case, they are unable to comment further. A Garrett County man is facing dozens of charges of animal cruelty and is scheduled to appear in court later today at 10 this morning. The arrest citation of 64-year-old Dennis Kirkpatrick says there were 62 dogs living in bad conditions in his home, with 1 dog being found dead. Cases like this can put strains on already struggling shelters. Some animal shelters in Kentucky deal with shortages of supplies and space for animals at the shelters. The Garrett County Animal Shelter says they are in need of help.
It's heartbreaking, and what it comes down to is basically that we don't have strict enough laws. We would never see these numbers if there was a spay and neuter law, if there was affordable vetting for the spay and neuters. We're seeing more and more numbers like this.
Anita Spritzer with Lexington's Pause for the Cause says she's seen situations like this one before and says current laws are not helping to control the tidal wave of rescues Kentucky shelters are seeing. For a rural shelter like the Garrett County, the 62 dogs they've taken in caused the shelter to shut down to new cases for the time being. Many other animal shelters are facing issues with overcrowding, including right here in eastern Kentucky. The Kentucky River Regional Animal Shelter is one of those places that has seen more animals than they have the staff to properly take care of. Getting your pets spayed and neutered is a practice that helps address this issue from the beginning. It is also healthy for the animals. Experts say it can help prevent certain infections and cancers and increases animals' lifespan. Tony Vaughn has worked with animals for many years, and he says he and his wife hope to open a low-cost clinic to provide those services.
Me and my wife are going to try to build our own clinic just for low-cost spay-neuter. We're going to take something because we see where the need's at now, and I really want to have our own clinic because the state laws will be changing next year. They'll be a lot stricter. We're going to have a facility that will allow that to happen.
Vaughn says next year's laws relating to spaying and neutering will become more strict, which is why it is important for affordable resources to become available. Kentucky River Regional Animal Shelter, or CRAS, also hosted a volunteer and donation drive Saturday. They had booths at the flea market, farmers market, and Walmart, plus a number of volunteers at the shelter from 10 in the morning until 5 in the evening. Volunteers deep cleaned, organized, and interacted with the animals. This comes as the shelter aims to get back on track after facing controversies and conflict around the conditions and administrative processes of the shelter. Rex Kilburn has been helping the shelter over the last month and urges people to channel their concerns into helping make a change.
Hold on to that interest. Turn that from outrage into support. Come in and, this is your shelter. These animals are in the care of these counties. This is your shelter. Make it your shelter. Be here, be heard, be known. We heard your voice. Things are changing. Now we just need you to keep coming back.
Kilburn says the goal is to make it so the shelter goes beyond just survival for the animals and is somewhere that thrives. To learn ways to help out the shelter or volunteer, you can visit WYMT.com or CRAS's Facebook page. A Letcher County man has been reunited with paintings he thought were lost for good. WYMT's Austin Hicks was there to hear a story 33 years in the making.
Jeff Chapman Crane is a nationally recognized artist whose work has been featured in the American Artist magazine. Crane paints portraits and paintings that tell the true story of the mountains. He takes those works around the country to art shows so people can see them. After one of these shows 33 years ago, Crane made a shocking discovery.
I came over that morning to load the paintings and discovered that 5 of the boxes were missing. And so we called the sheriff and they sent people over, they took fingerprints, but nothing ever came of it.
In those boxes were 6 of Crane's newly completed paintings. No one was found guilty of stealing the paintings, and Crane just assumed that they would never be found. After 33 years, the paintings were forgotten and other paintings were made. But a surprise phone call opened the door for a possible reunion.
Once during a phone conversation, he began to describe a couple of the paintings. The first one he described was this one. He mentioned an elderly lady sitting in a store with canned goods behind her and talked about this young girl in the red t-shirt. And when he mentioned that one, I knew that those had to be 2 of the paintings that had been stolen.
After realizing that the person on the phone had his paintings, Crane rushed to go pick them up. He says that the man who had them said he found them while cleaning his father's house. Crane felt a sense of gratitude for being reunited with his paintings.
Not the same, but it's just like something being returned to you, you know, that you thought was gone for good. Sort of that same feeling, something that was important to you that was lost and it's been returned.
There was also a sense of gratitude for the man who returned them.
It's not something that happens every day. I don't know. People talk about having ups and downs to their days. Well, ours has been pretty up for several weeks now. It's pretty nice.
Jeff says that he will be making copies of each of the paintings to sell to the public. In Letcher County, Austin Hicks, WYMT Mountain News.
The Cranes say people are welcome to come and explore their art exhibit and should call them to set up a tour time. A West Virginia state trooper killed in the line of duty last year was honored by his community Saturday. Folks came together to play softball and raise money for a scholarship in his name. Sergeant Corey Maynard was born in Eastern Kentucky. Now a scholarship has been founded in his honor. It will help first responders and their relatives through college. Family and friends hit the field to play in a softball tournament to help raise money for the fund.
Watching an event like this, where Corey's life was so much about service, helping others, reaching out to others. At times, Corey was one that would go that extra mile to really lend a hand.
The scholarship is for first responders and their immediate family through the Southern West Virginia Community College Foundation. Maynard leaves behind a wife and 2 children. When we return, the Gingerbread Festival is almost underway with the annual pageant taking place over the weekend.
Oh my goodness, that's adorable. In the meantime, waking up to some areas of fog this morning. After a beautiful weekend, we'd like to have that great feel to the air continue, right? We'll let you know your ARH First Alert 7-day forecast is coming up right after this.